Welcome back to Live Reality Games. We are here live covering a very special live reality game called The Greenhouse. This is season 1. Taylor and the production company have done a number of shows in the past, from Big Brother, The Genius, even The Mole, which wasn't filmed, but we'll hear a little bit about that from one of the previous players here tonight. We are talking specifically about The Greenhouse season 1 finale. Now, if you haven't watched The Greenhouse season 1 yet, definitely check it out on Facebook and catch up before you watch this podcast. This will be full of surprises, full of spoilers, and we want to keep you up to date as best as possible. Joining us tonight is the producer, is the host himself, Taylor. Taylor, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
You are back again. We got to sit down a little bit earlier and talk about like a quick introduction of The Greenhouse. So how was this season overall filming?
I enjoyed it. I knew the day of that we had a really good show on our hands. It was a very competitive cast. I think you could see that as early as episode 1. Some really exciting gameplay. I think the game translated really well. I think a lot of different scenarios that I was hoping would come up from the format happened. And I think it was a great introduction to The Greenhouse. I could not be happier. And the response has been pretty good too. We've gotten some consistent commenters, so it's been fun. It's been fun.
That's fantastic. I just got the update on my phone. We're live. Yes, thank you, phone, for telling me. Also, speaking of filming, one of the main filmers of the production crew in general, but specifically one of the star players of this first season, Claire. Claire's here tonight. Claire, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So I'm just curious, how did you ever get started? How did you hear about like the Taylor Productions, as I guess we can call them for now before we get an official name here?
Well, Taylor and I met through high school speech and debate. And we actually weren't that good of friends the first time I got invited. I got invited because Taylor had invited my now ex-boyfriend. And that's how I got involved, and then I just kept showing up, and I never stopped.
Well, we're glad you never stopped showing up, because you definitely put the pedal to the metal in this first round. It was really impressive from the start. You just went playing the game really hard at first, and it brought you to the end. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You had a little moment after the last vote, and I think a lot of fans watching these live games, and the participants and the production people and the people who watch these games, they really felt, especially after last year, what was it like getting to play an in-person game again for the first time?
My moment you're talking about, are you talking about me crying? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, just the fact that you were so happy to bring these games back and to get the opportunity to play again after quarantine and seeing these people for the first time.
These games mean so much to so many people. Obviously, it means so much to Taylor. This is his hobby and everything. But through Taylor, just, doing his hobby, inviting his friends, I met my fiance. These games mean a ton to me, and there's just no other feeling like it, like getting to experience one of these games. It's such a unique experience, just a bunch of people that don't know each other willingly showing up at 6 a.m. and not going home until 3 a.m. And, everyone smells bad and looks awful, but for some reason we all love it. And it's hard to explain unless you experience it. And the feeling of being back was just, I was very emotional, as you can see.
Well, the emotions ran high, and it was a great first season. Taylor, for the folks at home, how do we watch your shows?
Definitely. If you go on YouTube and search Taylor Luke, my channel will come up pretty easily. I tested it. And also, if you search Survivor Goat Island, like the animal, it'll show up as well. That'll put you to our first Survivor season on that channel. So either way, you'll find us.
And while we're talking about your channel, you have a new show coming up too.
Yes, I do. On November 4th, I think. It's whatever the first Thursday is. Survivor Rocky Road is coming. It's our take on Survivor. If you watch The Greenhouse at all and got kind of a vibe for our, I guess, silly way of doing these games, we don't take ourselves too seriously. So it's a more lighthearted take on Survivor, but just with the same intense strategy that goes with it. So I think it's a lot of fun if you want a different perspective.
And speaking of strategy, two strategists from The Greenhouse are coming back for Rock Your Road. I think I saw Bryce and Emily. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely. The second place finisher and the second boot. It was very fun having them both back. It's interesting to see their takes on the game after experiencing The Greenhouse. They comment on it a bit in the show itself. And it's interesting to see that translation. It's fun.
Now, speaking of The Greenhouse, that's really kind of what we're here for today. Claire, how did you get started in applying to The Greenhouse?
Well, it's funny because whenever Taylor first mentioned The Greenhouse, it was just kind of a game that he was running over quarantine. And then we found out that he'd be doing an in-person game, and he texted our group of friends that's usually involved in the planning and production of it. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to be filming the first season of The Greenhouse. And then it was like radio silence for like a month. And then I just got a text from Taylor telling me that I was cast in it. And it like wasn't even a question. He was just like, yeah, you're playing. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'm playing. I need to learn about this game then.
Part of it did come from, I guess this would have been around late April. We were vaccinated at that point, and we were, I was back home for some reason. And Claire and Brody came over to just meet with us. And at some point during the gathering, Claire asked me, so am I filming The Greenhouse? And for whatever reason, I realized, why am I not using her star power for my first season? So as soon as I got a drop from the cast, I put her in immediately. So a little bit of both.
Well, we're glad to have her on it. Claire, what was your first thought, like playing a brand new game for the first time? You've played a few other versions of like Survivor and things you've seen in the past, but this is a brand new game. Were you nervous or more excited?
No, I was so scared. I took 4 pages of notes on his intro video because I was like, I can't mess this up because Taylor's my friend outside of this thing and I'll never live it down if I don't know what's going on. So I was nervous, but after like round 2, I think I got a really good hold of the game. So from then on, I was excited because we all knew we were a part of something really, really exciting and really, really entertaining. So once I got a feel for the game, I was excited, but pre-game, I was a wreck. I was also a wreck in the game, but pre-game, I was a wreck.
Before you got to that wreck status, like you really had the game down packed, I thought. Like initially, you pretty much had a partnership or a brief alliance with a lot of people in the game. But primarily, you had a big alliance with the 4 finalists. You had Christian, Bryce, and Brandon. Was that your plan going into, or how did that develop, I guess you could say?
So I didn't know Bryce before the day. Christian is one of my best friends, and Brandon I was like friends with, but not super close with because we had met right before quarantine hit. But I knew I loved Brandon, and Brandon and I always kind of click. And so I knew that I wanted Brandon to be my person. But I knew that because of the structure of the game, we probably couldn't survive as just a 2. We would need a third. And it was during round 2 or 3 that I realized that third person we would bring would either be Christian or Bryce. And so from then on, we kind of made it a 4, and we were just kind of like, we'll see what happens.
Well, really, that was a lot of viewers thought when Christian gets involved in anything. We'll see what happens. What was your relationship with like Christian before, during, and after the game? I mean, there was a lot of heated moments between the 2 of you.
Well, I think part of the reason there was a lot of heated moments is because no one in my life is more like my brother than Christian is. He's, like I said, he's one of my very best friends, and we butt heads all the time out of love. And so, even though we do our best to, play these games lighthearted, the greenhouse, especially with the aspect of you being able to save other people or more easily backstab other people with the currency and the powers you can buy, particularly with Christian, I guess, because we were so close outside of the games, it was just easier to it felt more personal. And so that's why it got so heated between us. After the game, I mean, whenever we had to vote him out, once again, I was a wreck and I couldn't stop crying, and neither could he. And it wasn't on camera, but right before the ceremony happened, where we were all sitting in the chairs and everything, we were hugging and just saying I admire you so much and I love you so much. So if anything, it brought us even closer somehow, and I love that boy to death. So.
No, speaking of the cast in general, it was a fantastic season 1 cast. Lots of personalities, lots of different gameplay, lots of different people. Taylor, did you expect this to be such a butting of a head season?
I did. I'm trying to remember exactly how I thought the alliances would shake up, because if I'm honest, I don't remember. If anything, I think I expected Claire and Christian to be on total opposite sides, which I guess in a way was kind of what happened. I kind of saw that Meredith, Christian, John group kind of forming. So I guess that's kind of what I was going for. But I definitely knew it was a bunch of extremely competitive people who wanted more than anything to be the first winner of the greenhouse. So they definitely delivered in that respect. I think everyone studied really hard for the game, and I think it showed in the ultimate product.
And speaking of the first season, Ben here has a comment on congratulating you on a very successful first season of the greenhouse. He can't wait to see more. Is there more greenhouse coming in our future?
Absolutely. Hopefully before the end of the year, we'll see. There are some conversations happening.
Now, you don't do these games full time. What do you do, actually in your free time besides these games on the side?
Besides these games, right now I am in law school, so I don't really have too much free time. Basically, I'm kind of banking on my winter break to just kind of churn out the next season, if possible. But yeah, that's my life right now.
Yeah, I find that super impressive. All of our podcasters and everything else, everything in this live game community, we all have regular jobs and regular things that we do. And you, per se, you're studying for law school. That's crazy, because you do the editing, you do the producing and everything. Mad props to you.
Thank you. The summer was very productive.
Well, you probably had a little bit more time off because of quarantine, kind of cooped up, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. There weren't as many random social events going on, so.
Now, Claire, anything about your gameplay that we didn't see on camera? Anything
As someone who usually films, I kind of know what to say to the camera to keep the narrative going, and I know the kind of person to camera conversations Taylor likes to have in the edit. So I did my best to be as crystal clear to the audience what was going on. But I think definitely after Flytrap, I just kind of laid all my cards out on the table. So I didn't even need to tell the camera what was going on. Everybody knew what I was doing. So no, I don't really think there's many aspects of my game that aren't super crystal clear. And I didn't realize that until you asked me that just now. That was a great question.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the really impressive parts about Claire's game is that she really just shows the power of just asking for things. No, as early as episode 1, she goes to Christian and says, I'm going to give Lainey a point, but I'm not going to do it unless you tell me I'm safe. You know what I mean? And they would just give her these deals and accept these deals. And I think given all the small moves that can be made in the greenhouse, just kind of not catching people off guard, but more having people make those small moves, they're more willing to just give more than they probably should. And I think Claire really capitalized on that.
I somehow got to a point that I wasn't even asking for things. Drake just gave me half of his seeds, and Lainey just gave me the green thumb, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'll take it.
Now, that was a question I had too. Lainey's power of the green thumb. You say it at the end that you were planning on giving it her back, and then you never met up with her before she got eliminated. Was this legitimate?
Yeah, if there was any possibility I knew that Lainey was going to be staying, I was planning on giving her that power back and planning on trying to use it together as like a shared kind of thing. But I knew that we had a solid plan with my banked vote that she was going to go home, and it was just the move that was going to be made. So I kept it, and I don't regret it.
You definitely used it well. You took out like Meredith with her own power, pretty much. Was that like? Did you think, yes, this is the move, or had Christian won that first place, would you have stolen it from Christian?
No, I in the game I would have still chosen to use it on Meredith because at that point Christian had helped me out a little bit in giving me a seed for the fly trap, even though he had also helped the other side. Meredith hadn't really helped me at all, so it was like someone that was a little bit with me versus someone that wasn't with me at all. So I was going to use it on Meredith in that situation.
Because that was what people were saying. Oh, I wonder if she used it on first place or if she used it to target Meredith. So now we know. Now we know.
Yeah. I love Meredith so much. I feel bad, but
I will say one interesting fact about the season is that from the top 8 to the top 6, 3 rounds in a row, the player who got first place in the greenhouse challenge went home, but for different reasons. But I don't know. That's one of the things I really like about the game is that just comping out won't necessarily get you to the end.
Seriously, you better watch out if you get in first place. Uh-oh. Now, you brought up the fly trap as well. Was that really like the turning point in your game? Because we see like kind of a friendlier game going into the midway point, and then the fly trap happens, and it's really like two sides of the house, and not really because some people give seeds to both sides of the house for some reason. Yeah, how was that from your perspective?
Traumatizing. The game, to me, viewing the episodes is very clearly in 2 parts. There is before fly trap and after fly trap, and fly trap is kind of like the big finishing number before intermission. And I didn't think I was that different whenever I was talking about the game, but then as I was watching the episodes, we have a Final Four Greenhouse chat, me, Brandon, Bryce, and Christian. And they like kept saying like, oh, the fire in your eyes, like how like scary you were. And I was like, I don't know what y'all are talking about. But then I was watching the episodes and I was like, I don't know who that is. I snapped. I fully snapped. And it was just very aggressive gameplay, very aggressive, but also very open, and very honest about what I was doing from then on out.
You mentioned the aggressive gameplay, and the aggressive gameplay is what a lot of the jury members said at the end that they didn't like. Was there anything you think you could have said to maybe calm them down a little bit, or to throw them off your gameplay a little bit more, or is there any recovery at that point, or has the deeds already been done?
I think my best argument at that point was, if you want to vote based on like just really strategic gameplay, then you can vote for me. But if you'd rather vote for who was with you and who you personally like the best up here, which is kind of what ended up happening. Because like I said earlier, the greenhouse with the currency aspect, it actually becomes a little bit more personal. So jury management, as important as it is in games like Big Brother or Survivor, it's very, very important in Greenhouse. And that's like the biggest lesson I learned was jury management. I can't just like shoo someone off and go like that. I have to make sure we're on good terms, or else I'm definitely losing out on their jury vote, kind of like I did with Lainey and Kip and Meredith and everyone else. And Maddie.
Now, Taylor, you have had Claire in a few games in the past. How was this game for Claire different than anything we may have seen, or games we should look at on your channel to see more of Claire?
Definitely. Claire's games, she played pretty much once in each era of our channel. She played a really early Survivor, got out pretty early, but I think it's because her team was whittled down to like 3 or something. I think the main defining point of this Greenhouse game was that she truly grabbed the reins of the game. Absolutely. I think typically she plays a more, I guess, Brandon style game normally, wherever she's trying to socialize with people and just get that really strong social bond and kind of, I guess, hide behind the strong polarizing moves of other people. But I think because she took the reins, she was able to really make that last push to the end. And I think that's what defined this game for her. Yeah. As far as other seasons she's been in, she was fantastic in Survivor Isle of Deceit. Not me. And she was great in The Genius 2, which is my favorite season on the channel, other than the Greenhouse.
Claire, are you recommending The Genius as well?
I definitely recommend The Genius, especially if you want more Claire and Christian fighting, because Christian is also in that season.
And Meredith's in that season too.
And Meredith's in that season too, yeah.
It's a great.
I really enjoyed getting to meet Christian a little bit too. He was on a draft we did a few weeks ago for Ascendance. Ascendance Live is airing right now as well, and Christian sat down with us, and he's very competitive, even in the little like fantasy draft thing we got going on.
Absolutely. We do drafts together for Survivor and Big Brother 2, and he is the exact same way at all times.
Sorry. It's
No,
not
go ahead.
even just about games. Like, we were going to see a murder mystery play together, and he was at dinner, and he was like, all right, who wants to take bets on who's the killer is? Like, loser has to buy winner ice cream. And I was like, not everything has to be a game.
At the end of the day, Christian is a plot pusher.
Yeah.
You can depend on that any day of the week.
Now, out of curiosity, you mentioned Survivor Draft Big. Do you two have any favorites in this new season of Survivor 41?
Ooh,
You're not at Claire right away. Who are you?
I'm a big Evie fan. She's impressing me so much so far, and I'm obsessed with her. I also love Ricard, and I haven't seen anything yet, but I have a good feeling about Liana.
Liana is my pick to win the entire thing. So go Liana. I know you're listening right now, so good luck. Taylor.
I really enjoyed JD in the first episode. I thought that I just like that kind of character who just jumps off the screen like that. And I didn't do much pre-game research, so I don't know everyone's names. What's the name of the pastor who was humming her own theme song?
Shan.
Shan, yes, love Shan. Shan was my winner pick and my first pick in the draft.
That's a good, strong pick.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, draft-wise, did you have anybody pinpointed in the Greenhouse that you thought was going to succeed?
Actually,
Besides Claire, of course.
I'm trying to remember the day before, because I know for most of the pregame process, Brandon was my winner pick, actually. I will say, but I think the day of I switched to Claire. Claire was one of the later additions to the cast, believe it or not. So I think that might be what's muddying my memory. But before Claire was on the cast, it was Brandon. So I think I had a good read.
Casting wise, Claire, are you looking to get back into any game? You mentioned you're probably a little busy with wedding planning and everything right now, but more games in your future, I hope.
Oh, definitely. And a lot of filming. I would love the chance to play the Greenhouse again, maybe after like a little break. It's still a little raw for me. But me and you talked before we went live, I haven't played Big Brother. I've played every game of Taylor's except Big Brother. And so I feel like my time is coming with that too.
Yeah, that's definitely coming. We were supposed to do Big Brother 19 the weekend after quarantine started. So it was devastating. And Claire and Brandon were supposed to play. I think they referenced that in one of the early episodes that they knew they were going to be cast together at some point, which might have been part of that bond. But
Yeah, if you are interested or anybody listening or watching at home, you can head on over to LRG Casting on Facebook and kind of keep up to date with all the live games casting across the country, even international stuff like Melbourne and up in Canada as well, if you're interested, if you are. If not, you can always check it out too, regardless, like, don't get me wrong. Now, editing-wise, Taylor, you pretty much edit everything. Was there anything that kind of got lost in that you wanted to throw in? Any bonus footage we didn't end up seeing?
That is a really good question. I should have thought of that beforehand. If I think of something during the remainder of this, I'll let you know. I think for the most part, I try to keep it as complete of a picture as possible. The main things that I cut are people who retell conversations that were very clear. Like I think for that Maddie week, there were a ton of conversations of just everyone breaking down the Maddie Christian drama. I thought it was clear enough. So that's most of the things that I cut. I'm not sure. I think the good thing about having just the game in one day is that we could fill the whole episodes with everything, and it's still a complete story. So I think that's one of our benefits. But yeah, no.
Yeah, and I think the Greenhouse does a really good job of covering everything. It really feels like a live event that you're seeing. You're hearing all these side conversations, but you're seeing the correct ones to progress in the story. It's not like you're watching this one like a streaming one that you're like, oh, these two people are talking about food, but really the drama's going on over there. So it's really well put together, and pretty much all the conversations, all the stuff that we see, I think really like show the whole story.
Thank you. That was the goal.
Check mark.
Yes, definitely. I don't really have a method to doing it. I just kind of feel it as kind of an art to it. I mainly just take it one camera at a time, follow one player at a time, and just kind of feel it out. I don't know. I have no tips.
We wouldn't be able to have great episodes without great camera people and a lot of friends that are always willing to show up. And honestly, as someone that has filmed and played, filming is more exhausting than playing, in my opinion, because you can't sit, you don't stop. So just as someone who films a lot, just shout out to all of our camera people.
Yes, huge shout out. I could cry about all of you. I'm just so very grateful. It's my closest friends in the world. It's so fun to experience the game with them. And I'm always open to more filmers as well. It makes it easier for everyone. If anyone's interested in that too.
Besides great experience and everything, I hear the food is very well too. Claire?
Oh yeah, Mr. Bob's cooking is unmatched, truly.
Absolutely. We are very much in southern Louisiana, some really good Cajun food most of the time. It's always really good food if you're coming.
So Taylor, any final thoughts about the first season of The Greenhouse?
There were a few things that we talked about. The Final Four watched the finale together early. I sent them the link early, and we FaceTime afterward with some reactions. And I think there were two things that I wanted to talk about from there. One was Brandon said that for a second, he thought that he was going to just snipe Claire at 4 just to wake everybody up, apparently. There was no footage to support it, but that killed me, and I cannot stop thinking about it. I don't know what I would have done. I don't know, because I try to keep a straight face for most of it. You catch me breaking a couple times. But I would have lost it, I think, if that happened. And Also, I'm just very happy about the way that the vote split at the end. All three finalists got a strong number of votes there. And I think that speaks to the nature of the greenhouse in general, in that since there is so much to do in the game, it's really easy for everyone to kind of build a good resume for themselves. So I think those are my main final comments.
Claire, turning it over to you. What was your experience from the greenhouse, I guess?
I love the greenhouse so much. The final four, we've become best friends. We talk almost every single day, and I love those boys with my whole heart. Another thing I do want to add, kind of on Taylor's thing, on things we didn't really get to see in the episodes, but that we've definitely talked about a lot since, is that we actually removed Jan and Mitch's vote. And we're pretty confident that they would have both voted for Bryce. So then it would have been a 4-4-2, and I would have had to pick the winner. And if y'all thought I was crying a lot voting out Christian, I simply would have been on the floor. And we missed out on a little bit of good TV there, but I'm very, very glad it didn't happen.
I still stand by that decision, by the way.
Yeah, you mentioned that they weren't around to see most of the gameplay after they were gone, correct?
I think neither of them even saw Kip's elimination. So anything for most of the bulk of the big events of the game, they hadn't seen. Because even if they had both voted for Bryce, three of Bryce's votes would not have been at that final question. Because I think John left right before. So I think ultimately I'm happy with the decision I made.
And sometimes, it just comes down to production. Things happen, and you have to make a decision like that. So
it's just part of it. I think it was all
fair. So speaking of, just to recap here, season 1 of the Greenhouse has finished, and we are looking forward to a season 2, maybe by the end of the year. But before that, we have Rocky Road Survivor. Was this named after the ice cream at all? I'm a big fan of ice cream. Yeah, okay.
With the name.
Claire named the season. It was. I'm sorry. My phone is right.
Okay, so Claire, you came up with the name. How did you come up with the name?
It was named something else, and I just remembered years ago that Taylor told me he came up with the names by doing an adjective and a noun that just sounded good together. And I jokingly, out of nowhere, I was just like, Rocky Road. And Taylor didn't even miss a beat. He was like, that's it. And he just wrote it down. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was originally Harsh Marsh. So if you go through our YouTube channel, you will see most of our seasons are just an ominous adjective and a landform. Bonus points if it sounds ridiculous. So one of our earlier survivors was Survivor Hidden Valley, like the ranch. So I don't know. I like leaning into being ridiculous because it is ultimately a backyard edition of Survivor. And I think there's a lot of humor there too that kind of keeps it lighthearted.
Absolutely. What do we have forward to look for in this next iteration of what do you want to call your studio production? What should we call you, Taylor, I guess?
Let me think.
Maybe we should go to Claire. Claire named the episode.
Yeah, Claire is there. Our old we used to go by Detente Productions for a while. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that. Just call it the Luke's Games for now.
Luke's Games, absolutely. All right, Luke's Games. It was great to see you again, and great to talk about a fantastic season. An original live reality game that's kind of based on Big Brother, kind of based on Easter egg hunts, I guess you can will. Like you said, Big Brother with a economics degree.
Yes.
Claire, has been fantastic chatting with you, meeting you for the first time. Congratulations on everything. Great job on playing a fantastic game, and look forward to seeing more. For everyone that wants to tune in to more of Luke's Games, make sure you check out their YouTube page. You can search for Taylor Luke or Survivor Goat, as in the animal island. Survivor Goat Island. Till then, make sure you subscribe and like us on Facebook, on YouTube at Live Reality Games, and we will see more of you in the future. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great night.